Chemistry Room Fragrances is the perfect addition when elevating the vibe of any space. Whether if it's your home, car, or office, and something needs a quick refresh, our room fragrances provide that beautiful burst of fragrance with just one quick mist. Shop now at www.chemistryroomfragrances.com and be sure to follow us on Instagram at Chemistry Room Fragrances. Chemistry Room Fragrances. Smells so good.
Hey, Derek.
What's up?
I'm trying to level up and make the guests feel super welcome coming to the show. So, we upgraded the graphics and everything. And,
Listen, you got commercials and all that. Come on now. I love it.
We got to take it to the next level, right?
Listen, you have definitely done that. So I am
because you've been
proud.
with me since when we were just, Lord, it was.
We were Zoom and doing audio and recording the audio.
Despise not the humble beginnings.
Listen, and it's I love, like, we'll get into the conversation for tonight, but I love just being able to look back and see our growth and evolution just even over the past year.
Yeah.
It's definitely exciting.
For sure. So with that being said, what's up, everybody? It's your girl, Camille Estick. I'm host of the Speaker Podcast. This is the podcast where innovators and creators connect. Tonight, my brother and friend back, I have to say it all together, Derek D. Ross is in the building. He is here. And be sure to subscribe right now. If you go and hit that link in the bio, shop and use coupon code GBM15. That's across the board for all the Chemistry Room fragrances and the items, the collections, the Good Black Men merch. Use that coupon code GBM15. Good Black men still exist because what? All of them are not bad. There are still some good brothers out here. I'm sitting down with one tonight. So be sure to tell a friend, tap in, come on through, pull up, put the AirPods on. You in the kitchen, you can listen. So get in here and get this conversation. So with that being said, Derek, we're going to hop into, well, before we do that, I got to ask you a couple questions because I've had you on. Mm-hmm. But I don't really know your background. Like, as far as like, who was little Derek before we know him as Derek D. Ross? Mm-hmm. Who was young Derek? What was he like?
I played in the dark. Like, I was one of those kids where I could entertain myself. So I had my G.I. Joes and stuff like that. My mom used to tease me because I used to play in the dark in my grandma's living room until I went to see my first scary movie, Friday the 13th. No, Freddy Krueger with my uncle. And after that, it was a no-go. I went trick-or-treating, but I was like, just don't take me to Freddy's house.
See, I was good until I saw it. After that, me and Clowns and I, no sir.
And the thing about it is, I love scary movies. So it's still like a part of like the foundation. Like my cousins, we used to always get together growing up and watch the latest scary movie. And we still try to do that now, even as grown folks. They have kids and things like that. Yeah. But yeah, I was always very creative. Loved make-up games, and we used to play hide and go seek, freeze tag. We used to make mud pies.
We did that. These kids have phones and they sitting on the couch. We were before outside. We outside. No, we were really outside for real.
For real. Coming in smelling like outside. You know, when kids be outside all day, you come in, you smell like grass and dirt.
You smell like outdoors. They would tell you that. You smell like outdoors.
Yes, I was a product of those, of smelling like outdoors. But yeah, we used to just find things to do just in nature. We used to have, I'm telling. This was a little violent, but used to have apple fights. So back like in the playground, used to be like these little apples, little green apples. And we used to line up on opposite ends. There was a tree on this end and be popping each other. Like, and we didn't have no clue, like, like we could actually like bruise and get hurt. But
yeah, I told somebody the other day, I was like, if you think about our childhood, we could have died. Like the stuff we did, I'm surprised we're not dead. We did some crazy things, but we didn't have social media and all that. We entertain ourselves, and I think that helped us being creators as adults because we straight from the imagination. We freestyle it.
I couldn't imagine not like being who I am without the childhood that I had.
I know. Even the conversations. Oh, like right now, grits, sugar or salt.
Well, okay, quick backstory. I didn't eat grits until I was like in like late middle school. I used to eat cream of wheat growing up. So cream of wheat and grits, for me, that was the closest connection. So I ate it like cream of wheat with sugar and butter. So, but I've grown to love like shrimp and grits with like, cheese and things of that nature, as a meal. But yeah, it took some time to get there, but I had to start off with sugar and butter just to get me acclimated to grits. And then I elevated as I got older.
Okay, don't take my black card. I didn't eat grits for the first time for real until December 2019.
It's never too late. Come on. You like them now though, so.
Yeah, because okay, so my god sister Kia, what's up, Kia? So she made breakfast for me one day. I just got out of the Navy and I stayed at her house before I came to Charlotte. And she was like, "Oh, I made breakfast for you." And she made grits. And I'm a texture person. So I was like, ugh. But she's like, no. You're gonna like it. And the way she made it, they weren't lumpy, they were smooth. She put salt, pepper, butter, cheese. I messed those grits up. And ever since then, because of how she made it, now I'm doing like jalapeno grits, and grit. Like, yeah, I can do a good grit.
Grits are like, it's a good foundational piece where you can spice it up, spice it down, and you can really make it, a lot of different dishes with what you add to it. So that's a dope piece.
Yes. Okay. So I'm because I like to get to know my people. So who's your favorite person?
Who is my favorite person currently, like as in today?
If there's somebody like, oh man, when you see them, maybe it's in social media or even in person, like who is like, oh man, they were so dope.
You know what? I would have to say Tabitha Brown. Right now is like my absolute favorite person. Outside like people who I don't know, like who is not connected in my immediate circle. But yeah, Tabitha Brown, I love what she stands for. I love everything that she's doing. And it's funny because my mom introduced me to her because my mom used to watch her all the time when she was cooking. I haven't met her, but I'm like on social media. So my mom introduced us because she used to watch it. I'm like, what are you watching? And she used to watch her cooking and stuff like that. And she's like, I love her. And so I started watching her because of my mom. And then, I just got hooked.
She is like, there's a warmth to her. Like her presence, she's just like, hey y'all.
I know, right? You're like, hey girl, what's going on?
I love it. Like that's to me, like when you're like at peace and you know your purpose and your walk is good, meaning in life, it exudes, it comes out of your pores. And she just shows up and it's just like, hey y'all. I'm like, hey, girl. Like, yeah.
And that's I was watching a sermon the other day, and that's wisdom, right? Because to be able to do what she does, maintain that type of sense of self, her religion, her faith, but then also be able to respond to people and haters and critics the way that she does, that's a level of wisdom that only life and experiences can teach you. And I only pray to be that poised and to be that thoughtful and to be that aware of how my words are powerful and how I interact and respond to people, from a place of understanding where their hurt may be. And that's why they're acting the way they are,
Yeah, for sure. I think my person one for me, Gail King, just from a media standpoint, like she shows up, she's vibrant, she's funny, she's smart. I love like what glasses are going to be on her face today. And then in terms of like her graciousness, her poise. And then I think about my other favorite person, Miss Felicia Rashad, like just her whole being. I'm just like, to be a student,
right? And it's I don't know, it's I've come to appreciate, like the older I get, I come to appreciate all of our elders, so to speak, right? Our veterans, our legends, our icons, and really like paying attention and listening to their lessons and their moves, because there's so much wisdom and there's so much knowledge out there that sometimes we don't necessarily sit down and see the table that's offered in front of us as far as lessons and things of that nature. And so I'm becoming more aware and more tuned into the mentors who are not necessarily in our personal space, but that we can learn from afar, from a distance, or just how they show up.
It's like you're watching a moving masterclass. You know, people do these master classes like when you pay the fee or whatever. But in reality, if you're tuned in, I mean, to do that is still good. But certain people, if you follow them, you can just watch and listen to them every day and glean from that as well. So I think that's so cool. And I think when we think about, we're like a work of art. Like we're under construction, but then we're also a masterpiece at the same time. And I think with social media, Derek, we get so pulled like, oh, I'm not there yet. And we look at this person that's, you know, gone viral, and then we're beating ourselves up. And that's what I do want to talk to you about being gracious to ourselves as far as understanding, yes, you're a masterpiece and you can be under construction at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, when you think about masterpiece, like when I look at it and I think about masterpiece as to myself, I look at the different pieces. So me as a whole is not a masterpiece, but there's certain things that I've mastered, and I'm a masterpiece in certain areas. And in certain areas, I am a work in progress. And so I look at it from that perspective of that the whole collective of me is still a work in process, but I get to celebrate the areas that I have mastered and that I continue to grow. And so what it does, it gives me the, like, yeah, I can claim that, because we have to celebrate the work that we do. We have to celebrate the things that we have, you know, worked hard to achieve. And so in order to be able to continue to move forward, we have to celebrate where we've come from, right? We have to celebrate what we've overcome. And so I think for me, it's about not forgetting those areas and really standing poised and tall in the spaces where you are considered a master or an expert or authority in, you know, whatever that may be. It could be just making grits, right? Stand and own that, right? Because everybody can't make grits.
They cannot.
And so, you know what I'm saying? Not even restaurants, not every restaurant. And so there's things to be proud of, even if the smallest thing, because that's momentum to keep you growing and celebrating and continue to have the energy to move forward, because it's life. Life is, there's no blueprint. I'll say this a lot. There's no blueprint on how you or I or anyone is going to live life. We're taking it day by day. Yes, there's lessons. Yes, there's people out there that we can look up to. But for you in your life and me in my life, we're here for the first time. There is no set course or plan. And so every day we're taking a step into the unknown. And it's a beautiful uncertainty about it, right? Because there's so many possibilities that exist. But we also have to be present in the moment to really understand and really be absorbent of everything that's coming in while we are continuing to move forward.
That part. It's just how we are so hard on ourselves. We do this comparison thing. We say that we don't, but we really do. And even the times that you realize, like, oh, I'm good, I'm fine. Then you're scrolling, you see that one post, and it's like it pushes you all the way back. And you're like, I'm not doing enough.
It's that trigger.
It's the trigger. And so then we go into self-care mode and say, oh, well, I'm stepping back from social media for self-care, mental health. Like then we start saying all this stuff when in reality, it's not social media, it's you. Like, because social media is gonna do what it's gonna do, but you have to learn to control how you respond to it and realize it's a tool.
Yep.
You know?
You said the words right out of my mouth.
It's
These are the words right out of my mouth. It's a tool. And we as operators of it, right? So we are the ones that determine how that tool is used. And so knowing that, like, social media doesn't have a power unless you give it, you know, unless you actually give it more authority in your life to control certain things. It is addicting, you know, and, you know, you get caught up in the scroll, and it's easy to escape into other people's lives and what other people are doing instead of facing what it is that you have to face. Self-care, outside of, you know, taking a break, getting a manicure, pedicure, getting a massage, self-care and self-awareness and working on that is hard. And it's difficult because you are forced to face certain things that it's so easy to sweep under the rug, or just, you know, put it behind you and then jump on social media and then just, you know, point the finger and worry about what everybody else is doing, or get triggered by what you're not doing. Because at the end of the day, you do want to be better, but instead of doing the work to be better, you post and point and pry at other people, and then you're still mad because when you get off, you still haven't done the work and you're still where you are.
That part. And then I feel like sometimes too, I feel like social media, especially in this age, it becomes a crutch, because there's a difference in picking up the phone, hearing someone's voice, or going to see them in person. because now it's like it's safe. If you're an introvert like myself, it's like a cheat. Like, oh, I'm interacting, I'm liking, we're having a conversation, but I don't have to really engage with you because there's a buffer because this is between us. You know what I'm saying? But when you get in person, because there's people I've met in person, no conversation, they have nothing to say. They're going, you know, because if anything, if I've learned something about you through this space, by the time we meet, some of the surface stuff should be knocked out of the way because we built a rapport.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes too, just going through that, it kind of shows you where people are really. Because if you see in person, I'm the same Camille that online. And I've had somebody tell me before, and they sounded disappointed. Oh my gosh. And I was like, what? They're like, man, you're the same way you are online. But I could hear the disappointment in their voice. And I'm thinking, who else was I supposed to be?
That part.
Because there's so many people on social media, they present one thing, and then you meet them in person, and it's so lackluster.
Yeah, it's so dissatisfying. Like and that's why you have to be very careful about how you, like, to your point, how you present yourself and how you show up, because you set the tone for people to then create the persona of you that they think
the
you
fantasy.
are.
Yeah,
the fantasy, whatever that may be. And so if you always popping off with the mouth, but nothing that you say on social media is ever your original words, and then you get in person and people are like, okay, well, where's all where's all that? And it's like, that was never you, because you're just out here copying what people say and reposting as your own, and you haven't developed your own voice. Excuse me. And so I think I agree wholeheartedly. Like, I had to take a step, and I won't even say take a step back. I got busy. I was working, I was grinding, I had things going on, and social media just wasn't the space where I needed to be at the time. But I popped in every so often. But it was good because and it's twofold, right? I always say be intentional about what you're going to use social media for. Like, for me, it's to stay connected. It was so, at one point when I was, I still do entrepreneurship, I still have my business and stuff like that, but there was a certain point where I was doing more one-on-one coaching and things of that nature. And so at that point, social media was a space where I was like, I need to monetize this. I need to position, I need to put expertise out there. I need to do all these things. But then Clubhouse, listen, I ain't been on Clubhouse in so long.
I was on there this morning. It's changed a lot.
I need to pop in just to show my face and see what's going on. But I felt the need to be in and on everything, to the point where I was exhausting myself because I was putting all this unnecessary pressure. And so I took a step back and I said, how do I really want to use social media? And I went back to how I started. It's just a space for inspiration for me. It's a space to connect, to have conversations. And that's how I want to use it. I don't necessarily want to use it for business, and not to, for those that use it for business, hey, big up, great. But for me and mine, I don't need it for business because of the work that I do. It takes place behind the scenes, right? And so for me, I had to really get clear on that, because it's easy, to your point earlier, when you're watching other people, to get off, to get distracted and start to pick up and do things that don't necessarily apply to you in your journey, but you're trying to pick it up and do because you haven't set the clarity for yourself.
Good point. So as you know, our podcast, I have ebooks, chemistry, the shirt like this. And I've had a couple people, men and women, tell me, well, Cam, if you want to go viral faster or whatever, you're not an ugly person, you're a nice looking lady, maybe you should dress like this and post that and do this. I could, but that's not me. That's not what I'm selling. That's not my message. That's not my lane. And I don't feel like that's true to myself as far as my branding is concerned. And then too, with social media, because certain narratives can be trending. If you're not sure of who you are, your purpose, and what your voice is, the other social media voices can come and infiltrate your brand to where Derek doesn't sound like Derek anymore, and Cam doesn't sound like Cam anymore. And then you become another face or another person. I've had someone say, oh, well, your content is so serious, and maybe you should podcast more about, the social media as far as like celebrity. And I'm like, it's so much of that mess out there. I don't want to talk about somebody getting slapped. I don't want to talk about this person dating this person. Like, there's so much crap out there as far as what I feel is important to our community, meaning Black and brown people. I feel like I do more service to us, to myself, if we talk about mental health, if we talk about relationships, talk about our finances and building legacy and wellness, spirituality and relationships, and like things that people are really dealing with. I think in longevity, it does more service to me and to everyone if I stay in my lane and do what I'm purposed to do versus following what's trending. Because the trends up, it'll be something else next week.
Absolutely.
And it'll drive you crazy trying to keep up.
Absolutely. And I think that's where people get discouraged and where people don't last long. But in order to have longevity, you have to have a solid foundation. And, you know, having seen your growth over the years from when you started and you were, you know, kicking off this journey, you're doing the exact same intentional focus with different stories, different voices, expanding platforms, and you're still here, right? It's the consistency. And you've built, you know, a foundation for, you know, women out there who will look up to you, you know, and say, oh my goodness, like Camille is such an inspiration to what she's doing because you stayed consistent. You didn't compromise your values because somebody else said, oh, you should do this or that. No, you stayed true to you, and success will continue to follow. Right. And so I applaud you for that, because it's so hard in a world where they want you to conform, to do what everybody else is doing, to maintain your individuality and continue to push forward as you and trust in that. Right. There's so many times where we don't do what we hear and what we innately know, this is the path for me. But because it's going to take work, because it's not, you know, a blueprint that a lot of people are, you know, seeing out there and just taking it and just putting their name on it and going, it's going to take a little bit more work to dig your own path, right? To dig your own, you know, to build your own home from the ground up, so to speak, right? And so, you know, I would rather build my own home on a lot of land than to go to a complex where all the houses look the same. You can't tell anything from anybody else.
Cookie cutter.
That part.
That's not what we're not trying to do. And just like with you, and it's, you know how when you meet people and sometimes you don't know who and what's in front of you, you were like that pleasant surprise.
Well, thank you.
You know that, like, the more I get to know you, I'm like, people, what now? Oh, you know? And it's just like, wow. For example, like the Inspire event, that was so good. I was like, my friend is on the board. My friend is on the board. You know, it's like the bragging rights. Like, no, my friend's on the board. So let's kind of talk about, before unpack some other things, I do want to give Inspire some shine, because, you know, I have a heart for philanthropy and community service. What is Inspire? How did you get involved? Like, what's up with that? Because I was like, this is cool.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny. We Inspire Movement was a friend. He's now a friend of mine who is the CEO and founder. But years ago, he reached out to me and you know, to donate. It was like We Inspire Day, and so it was like a day of inspiration. And then I followed the platform. I donated, and I love what they were doing. You know, I'm in media, I do PR, and so storytelling is always a fundamental part of any kind of brand, and how you establish and distinguish yourself amongst the many is your story. And that's what people connect to. And so seeing that they were always creating and sharing positive stories within a time where a lot of news publications and platforms always speak to the negative, and it's kind of very daunting to go and watch the news and you feel stressed and depressed. But here they're focused on sharing positive news that inspires people across the world and inspires them to want to be an inspiration to those in their community. And so flash forward, you know, a couple years later, and the opportunity came. Actually, it came twice. So there was one time he was trying to recruit me to be on the board, and I just didn't have the space, the capacity, or the commitment to support. And then I think a couple years later, the opportunity came again, and so I went through the process. But I was in a space of knowing how I can directly support and really help to amplify and support the organization as a whole. And one of the biggest things that we focus on is, you know, opportunities for youth who are interns, who, you know, major in communications and journalism, to really get the experience from a news organizational perspective of interviewing, identifying the story, doing the research, posting it, owning that whole process to prepare them for you know, a career outside of school. And so that was my experience growing up. Internship was a great opportunity for me to decide what I wanted to do in the world. And so anything that really pours into the next generation, I always want to be a part of. And because it's spreading good news and inspirational stories, which I think is missing in the world, if I can be a part of that light that can help shift someone's day or help someone else, share their story and open up and just shift the trajectory of their life, I'm all about it.
I love it. And the fact that I got to see another dimension to you in that space, I was like, oh wow, you're so cool. Like I love all of it. The setup, how you know me, I love professionalism. I love things that are organized. The whole setup, and then to meet another set of faces that I didn't even know they were here in Charlotte. I was like, oh wow. So thank you again just for inviting me. And I did want to definitely give you some shine on that and your flowers, because man, you did that. Y'all did that. That was dope.
Oh, yeah, it was, it's funny because I've always that was an opportunity for me to push myself because, as a part, like I always wanted to be on a board. I was like, oh, I want to be on a board, but it's work to be on a board. And so to be on it and to understand the back end and how other, leaders and experts in their space, right? We're all coming together to bring our collective skills and experience to help amplify and make this brand, this organization grow, to be sustainable, continue to do things that it's doing. And I've learned so much about myself just in patience and poise and just looking at things from a different perspective, strategic planning and things that will go into other areas of my life. But it was really something that I can say that I'm grateful for the experience. And, we have a couple more years. I got a couple more years of my term to go. I'm on there for 3 years. Okay. But it's definitely been something that I have a heart for, and I will continue to have a heart for, even when I'm not on the board or whatever the case may be. This will be something that as long as it's in existence, I will definitely be supporting it. So
yeah, and the space, it was diverse, but I love seeing so many of us show up for that event to support the board and the founders. Like I was like, oh, we do things. Okay, we are doing all of the things over here. Like I like that. So again,
and we had a little wine. I
was gonna get the selection. I think I texted you. I was like, Derek, no.
I'm with you. I already know. Yeah, I'm with you because I was the same way. I was like, hold up.
Yeah, it kind of snuck up. I was like, we were tasting it. But then later, I was like, hold on.
Yeah, let me get that second taste. Okay, all right.
Yeah, so it was aromatic and it did what it gave what it was gonna give.
It gave what it was gonna give, right?
So and then that, because your hands are in so many different things. I was joking with you earlier. I was like asking you about Zumba, and I gotta confess, you guys, I kind of shaded Zumba. I was like, I was in the Navy. What is Zumba? Like, what? Child, listen. Y'all better respect Zumba out here. I needed a whole inhaler. I was like, wait a minute. I'm tired. I'm breathing hard. I had to sit on the couch. I was like, and Derek was still, I was like, bro, wait.
Still going. Yeah, it's definitely it'll be 9 years in June that I've been teaching Zumba. And it was I say it's the marriage of my love for dance and my love for fitness and athletics. I used to run track in college. I used to dance in high school. Yep. I ran I ran year round for 11 years, AAU, middle school, high school, ended up going to college on a scholarship. And then that was it. Like it paid for school. That was this intention. And then it was time for the next season. I gave up dance in high school because I had to pick between dance and track because I couldn't do both.
Derek, so I danced. What did you not? Are you running for city council? Are you running for governor?
I don't know. I don't. That's at least I don't see that in the immediate future.
I mean,
but whatever God decides.
Like, do I need to move up there and get an address and vote and then come back here? I mean, what's?
Listen, you might have to. I don't know. We'll see. But it's been one of those things where I used to, when I was growing up, well, not even growing up, I want to say when I got into business, everyone just say, you can't be all things, right? You have to pick one thing. Right. And I'm like, well, what's the stats on this? Like, who says? Because everybody's different. Now, just because that may not work for you, don't mean it's not going to work for me.
Exactly.
And so I've always wanted to be a part of different things. If there was an interest, then I was going to be a part of it and try it out and do it. And whatever I gain from it, great. And even if it's not a lifetime, it's only a season. Right. That's cool too. But I want to say that I've lived a life of experiences, and I did not just pigeonhole myself into doing one thing and not trying other things just because of the fear or whatever. Like, yeah, it's going to take planning. It's going to take focus. It's going to take organization, but it's definitely possible. And I think what people should be teaching is just, capacity building, right?
Mhm.
There is a capacity that we have to be aware of for what we can and cannot do. And I think that is about capacity management more so than, oh, you can't do these things. Let's figure out what your capacity is. And then when you've done something and you're done with it, then you take that off and you add something to it, right?
Right.
So
What's the line between a boundary and a limitation?
well, a boundary is something that you set really around, what you've grown to learn about yourself, right? What you have, come to understand is spaces where, for me, where people can't cross, right? If
Right.
I know I need to protect my peace and my space, and I know there's certain things that disrupt my spirit or whatever the case may be, that I need to set a boundary around what that is, whether that's with self or whether that's with friends or families and things of that nature. So a boundary is something that external forces kind of bring in, right? And that you have to be mindful and protective of that. And even checking yourself. I think from a limitation perspective is that's just a reality that there's certain areas that you may be limited in because you don't have the skill set or you don't have the capacity, right? So to speak. And so you need support and you need, to understand what those are so that you know how to build the support, the resources around that limitation to then be able to achieve what it is that you want to achieve, right? For me, there may be, I need a team around some of the work that I do. I have a limitation. I only have a certain number of time.
Sir, you do it
Right. I only have so much time in a day. So my time is limited. And then my capacity, right? My energy is limited because you burn yourself out. So I need a team and I need a assistant. I need some things around me to help navigate all that I need to be in touch and a part of. And so that's a limitation. But boundaries are when I know people who have to hold their weight come in. I can't let them in a certain space. You can work for me if you don't have this type of energy, this vibe, this work ethic, then you can't be in my circle. I need to create boundaries around people that's not going to hold their own or show up fully,
So how does that play in when we're looking at like friendships and relationships? Because with how things are now, particularly with our generation, functioning, because everyone has a part to play, and there have been times when maybe we put this person in the wrong box when they should have been an associate. We made them a friend. And then you realize the associate was my friend, but we're so focused on this person we thought was our friend that we neglected the real, like, you know what I'm saying?
I think it's with what you're just doing, it's watching and paying attention.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people can put on a certain, show, certain character, certain,
I call it the mask.
Right, the mask, right? So everybody can wear a mask, but after a certain point, if it's a mask, it has to come off because mask will sweat, make it, you can't wear a mask for life. You could try, but eventually the truth of who you are is going to come out. And so for me, it was like with friends, it's one was testing their response to situations that didn't go in their favor. Right. And especially when it came to me. So if I had to give them a limitation or if I had to tell them the truth about themselves, how do they receive that? And how do they then act as it pertains to our friendship? Because if me telling you the truth because I love you offends you and makes you mad at me and you don't want to be around me and then you go talk junk behind my back, then you're not really a friend. And you're not a friend that I need in my life because you don't have the capacity to carry the truth or what it means to be my friend because I'm gonna keep it 100 but I'm gonna do it with love.
See, now, iron sharpens iron, and I say all the time, if you want to know how someone really feels about you, and recently I had to add on a clause B, another element to that, piss them off or die.
You'll see, yeah.
You want to know how people really care about you, how they feel, die or make them mad. And I say it reveals so many things. Child, listen.
Because people feel, and they've, it's funny because I've had to, like, over time, I've had to make decisions about friendships that I thought were going to be a lifetime in the moment, right?
Yeah.
And
like seasonal people, giving lifetime memberships, and they were just for the chapter or even just a paragraph, or maybe a footnote. I don't know.
Yeah. And each time it was a situation that really showed the true nature of their character that wasn't in alignment with me, right? And so, and there's always signs ahead of time. Like there's signs where if the conversation is always about the same thing every time you get together, but you're growing in a different direction, but they always want to talk about the same thing dating or this or that or whatever. You're like, okay, we thought that was great in middle school. That was great in high school. That was great in college. But you know what I'm saying? Like there's a time and a place for that. Yeah, we can get together, have drinks and talk about the good old days or talk about this or that. But then there becomes a point where your spirit and your purpose longs for something more. And that's when you have to, that the shift is coming.
Being challenged and stretched.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And each time I shifted into different, I have multiple circle of friends for different reasons and different purposes, because I've learned that there's value in that, because I don't want to always talk business 24/7. So I have a group of friends that, we can just chill and just talk about life and whatever. And then I have my business friends and I have a crossover here and there. But I've learned that there's value in different spaces, because different spaces and different groups of friends can hold the capacity or fill your cup in different ways where others can't.
Yeah, I've gone through that and going through that. There's people I've known for years, but every time we interacted, like you said, it was the same thing, or I felt like I was always the one pouring out, but I was not being poured into. It was not being reciprocated. And when I left their presence, I felt drained. And so then I'm having to go to this other circle to replenish, because if you're going through something and I'm there for you and I'm talking to you, but then if I'm going through something and all I get is, I don't know, what?
Well, hold up. I didn't, girl, I don't know you. Hold on.
Or I'm talking to you and all I get is, yeah, child. There's a lot of ad-libbing.
Yeah. Or the worst for me is, well, it's not as bad as my situation. And then it's like comparison. Like, it's like, okay, we're not trauma bonding here. First of all, let's not do that.
Not gonna do that.
Like, let's not do that.
Not trauma bond.
You're not bonding over trauma. Like, but it's those people that always want to outshine, or they feel if at any point they lose their grip to be able to keep you in a certain place, that they see the truth of your reality, that shoot, like they dope. I have to do whatever I do to keep them close to me, because I'm not ready to grow. I'm not ready to do this. So however I can keep them in this space of containment that makes me comfortable.
Or you start winning and they stop showing up. Like, really?
And everybody can win.
Don't start doing better than them.
Don't start. Yeah, don't start. And but you know what? I love that though, right? Because a lot of times there's blessings attached to your next that those people are not supposed to be connected and be a part of.
So some people will feel entitled. I've been there since day one. Well, I knew her when she was let me give you this. I remember when Cam used to, look, we are resting.
Listen. But it's interesting because I remember there was a family member in my life, and I was talking to my mom about it, and I was like, there's some blessings that God is not going to open up the door for, as long as you're connected to certain people, because they're not supposed to be recipients of that blessing.
You just messed me up. I need you to repeat that one.
There are certain people in your life that you're connected to that you have to disconnect from in order for God to open up the next door of blessings for you, because they're not recipients of that next blessing. They're not supposed to be. And so as long as they're connected to you, by default, they're going to be connected to some type of overflow from that blessing. So there's sometimes God will keep something from you for you to do the work you need to do to disconnect yourself from those. And I guarantee you, in my life, I've seen it in the lives of people that I'm friends with. As soon as you disconnect from that toxic person or whatever that is, things started happening. Blessings started to come. Opportunities started to come.
Open up.
Yes, for real. And it's like and it's one of those things where it's like you have to check the people that you're connected to, because sometimes there's certain things that God's like, well, I can't give you that right now. I can do all things, but I'm not doing that because that person is not the recipient of that.
And you can't get all of the things because they're in the way.
They're in the way. and they're going to make you mess up and fumble that blessing.
Or they're going to sabotage it out of jealousy, envy, and spite.
So I'm a big component when things. I start to look around and see who's around me and see who.
Shut off when the blessings start flowing. Like, wait a minute, let me do some inventory.
Hold up, right? Let me check. Let me check the flow. Who's blocking it?
Roll call. Camp here. Okay, it ain't her.
Yes.
Man, I have experienced that. I was in a relationship a couple of years ago, and God was blessing. He was doing some things. But when God moved that person out of the way, it was like God was like, now I can bless you for real.
Now I can be for real with you.
Yeah, like that was the app. But now I'm about to show you some other things. And it was like I was so I was feeling away, but then looking back on it, thanks. It could have left sooner. Like
Right.
and it just God just really opened up some things for me after that. And I was just like, and actually I felt a relief. Like, cause you know how sometimes you feel stuff and you're like,
what is that?
Something's just not. And when they left, I'm like, it was you.
It was you.
It was you.
And all them things you was carrying and all those things that was connected to you that was dampening my space and my mood and my energy and everything that I was trying to do. Yeah, it's that thing is real.
Now the rain is gone.
Right. Come on. Okay.
It's bright.
Bright, sunshiny day. Come on now.
Let church say amen.
I love amen. Amen.
Yes. So what else is going on with you? Because every time I talk to you, we have these amazing conversations. Just the enlightenment, the laughter. There's just such a I really feel like you're like the cousin I never met. Like you are so cool.
Well, we're gonna change that, but very soon. But I don't. You know what? It was interesting. I have a mentor now. I've had mentors. I say quote unquote growing up, like early in my career, but I've never really had an intentional mentor. And so with this new role that I took back in September with an agency here in Raleigh, and I still, consult and run my business on the side. That was a caveat to my decision to say yes. And a few things that taught me. One, go for what you want, right? And so when I went to the table and they were like, hey, we would love to bring you in full time, I was like, well, I do these things on the side and I still consult. And I'm not letting these things go because these things are important and they're part of my heart space. And these are clients I've been working for years. And so if we can make it work out, great. If not, then thank you for the opportunity. And they were like, no, we see you, we value you, and we know that you are connected to something great there. And if that makes you happy, that's only going to transfer to what we're doing here. And so I found a place where I felt belong and I felt included and I felt, heard at the table. And there were so many times in my career when I worked for other organizations where I didn't feel that, which was a part of the reason why I went to be an entrepreneur and run my own business and things of that nature. And so to be able to bring that experience from entrepreneurship and then be intentional about the decision to go back into corporate and do both, because a lot of people say, well, why you go back to corporate? Well, why not? If I always said if the right opportunity presented itself, then I would. And it was just a season where it was like, okay, you say you trust God, you say you got the faith. Well, why don't you, give the faith a test and then ask for what you want? And I did that and got it. And after that, I was like, okay, God, I don't know how I'm gonna manage it all, but I'm gonna trust that you've given me what I needed to do that. And he's been showing up and showing out ever since. And so that's what I've been doing. And so, I've been head down and focused there, but it's been a blessing. Just to the people that I've met, the experiences, what I'm learning. I'm also growing myself in different spaces where I'm actually to sharpen, like you said, iron sharpens iron. I'm sharpening so many skills that I had, but I haven't really had to use or leveraged in a while. So that's been a blessing all in of itself. And that's been my core focus, from September up until now. But just being present, like I'm truly, loving myself. I'm truly on this journey of, I started back working out in the gym. I'm still kind of getting my cadence back outside of Zumba, like lifting, but really creating a space for me. I'm a dog dad. I got a puppy. He's 6 months, but he has tested my patience. He's super smart. And we have a trainer and everything of that nature. But it was for a minute, it was one of those things where I was like, did I make the right decision? Like, did I just do this off a whim? Like, what in the world?
I want a dog, but with working, so many days a week at home, and then I'm going to the office, and I just want to be in a place to when I get my little guy, I want to be in a full-time space where if you see him, he's in my purse.
Yes.
And because I want a little purse. y'all know I'm a little bougie. I want to with the little
outfits.
Yeah, so it's just like, but I don't want to leave him. I don't want him to have that anxiety. Like, I want to be able to go get him puppuccinos and
chill and like have his own little mic reside the podcast, right?
Car seat and all that. People are like, well, if y'all know me, y'all know, that's Cam.
Yeah.
so I get it, but I want to where things are to where I don't want to put him in that space, just as if I were a mother.
Yeah.
If I were to be a mother one day, I want to be in a space to where I'm not leaving my kid with some stranger, you know, and to be there. So it's just, I get that. I think that's dope. And I think to see you in corporate spaces, even though you've been in and out of corporate America, I think right now, someone like, we need more people like Derek D. Ross in those spaces for representation, to have a voice, to change the narrative, how you connect with people. I think your presence is very imperative, especially now, showing up as a good Black man in those spaces.
Listen.
Like, we need it. We need Dereks. We need the Dereks in the world. Okay.
No, I appreciate it. And it's so true. Like, even now, like, much hasn't changed in the agency space, where there are many times I'm still the only, Black brother in certain rooms and certain meetings and certain conversations. Our agency is very inclusive and very diverse. But just the agency industry in and of itself, there's, depending on what side, if you're in the space of multicultural agencies like the Burrells and things of that nature, the Uniworld, where they are African American based, right? Then you're going to see more of us. But in the broader agency world, there is a limit, of seeing, Black men in the PR or in the agency space. And so that's a place that was my first job out of college, was in an agency, and I was the only Black person for a while, and then the only, Black male for a minute. But representation is so important now in a world where, you have to, everything is about inclusivity. It's about making sure that people's voices are heard and seen across the landscape, where it's internal or whether it's on campaigns that you're working on. It's so important to make sure that you have someone that can be empathetic, right? I can understand what you're going through because I am a Black male and you are, a client who's reaching out to serve Black men, right? I get it. I'm your customer, but also on the flip side, being, compassionate for clients. I may not have gone through what you are going through, but I have the heart space to be compassionate and want to help you create a solution for that.
Connecting on a human level.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
I love that. And two, being in the space that you're in with marketing and PR, being able to tell our story through that lens, in that space, in your position, that's important, because for so many decades and generations, we've had other people to tell our story when it's never been their story to tell. And to have people like you in those spaces to say, no, it goes like this. This is what it should sound like. This is what it should look like. I think that's very important. Even podcast, the microphone, digital spaces, media, it's important for us to tell our story.
I agree 100%. 100%. And I love the fact, like, the chair of the board, who's a brother, he used to be the former CEO, but he's my mentor. So, like, we had our call today, like we have a monthly call set up, and it's so such a blessing to have, a brother that you can look up to, who you can look to her as a mentor, but then also someone to help guide you in your career. And so his word is very, I hold it very true and dear. He gives me constructive, feedback, but he also empowers me and gives me different ways of thinking of things that I may have never thought about. And so I could see my growth as a leader just evolving just by our conversations and different ways that he has me looking at things that, I would not have done either, in another space with someone else. And so it's just, the blessings keep coming. And I'm so grateful for, all the small steps that's going to lead to something big.
Yeah, I love it. And the fact that I'm just honored to be here to watch your evolution. Every time I see you, you are just, it's always the next best thing. It's always leveling up. And I love that. It inspires me to go, okay, Derek did that, so I can do this, and just sometimes I know, we're talking in this space and you're talking to those listening, watching, but I'm like, no, I needed to hear that. Because I have days too, and I'm like, man, like the last couple of weeks, it's kind of been, but
Mm-hmm.
then to have these conversations, it's inspiring to me, because you just never know outside of the realm of social media what people are going through. Not just that it's something bad, but sometimes it's just that internal thing that we have to check sometimes to go, no, you're doing great. No,
Mm-hmm.
these people, this person. It's not about, oh, I know them, but just to show God is showing you, no, I have people in your life. Look what's around you. Look who's around you.
Yeah. And it's so important. I think we don't, like you said earlier, like we don't, in general, people don't talk to each other enough. Like we look at social media, we see a picture and we assume that, oh, they're good because that picture looks good or they're smiling in that picture. And what I've come to realize is like how much I love, my words of affirmation are one of my love languages, but how inspiring and motivating it is for someone to see the work that you're doing, that you are trying to put out, and someone receiving it and seeing it. They see your energy, they see your effort, they see, how you handle a
They see your heart.
situation,
They
and
see
they
your heart. Yeah.
exactly see everything about it, and they call it out, and I'm like, wow, like, so my intentions were seen, and what I was set out to do, it was delivered in that way. Oh my goodness, I'm in the right track. So it helps me to even level set with myself to make sure that I am still on the right path and where I'm trying to go. And I think that's super important, that we celebrate each other. We say, I see you, I see what you're doing, I love what you're doing, and get specific. I love how you're showing up. I love the evolution of your graphics and your commercials and the products you're doing. And you just really yeah, I'm talking about you. And so I'm talking about you, right? And see how I weaved over to that part. But it's great to see, because we put so much work into the things that we're doing. And and we still have that connecting on a human level. We want to be seen, we want to be heard, and we want to be connected.
Ooh, so you saying that, it made me think about Senator Cory Booker, when he acknowledged now Chief Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, and when he said, "You're worthy." And before we close out, I do want to touch on that, because us as Black people saying, "I see you. You're worthy. You belong here." Just like you and I, how we affirm each other on and offline, like doing that.
Yeah.
That's so major. Man, your graphics are getting better. I love your content. You're on a board. I think that's dope. Or I saw this. Like, we need to keep doing, we need to do that and say, I see you. That is so important.
It is. It's like, and it's no different back in the 90s when all the rappers had the hype crew on stage with them and all that. It's no different. It's like, and we have to show up that way intentionally, whether it's on the phone, whether it's in the comments, the posts.
Now. It's like, no, it's for all of us out here.
No, exactly. And it's, again, it just goes back to community. Like, we are designed to be in community with each other.
And you'll
right?
be much happier if you were happy for other people.
Exactly. And it takes you nothing. Right. It takes you nothing to say great job, or I see you, or if we're in a space, in a room together, because I'm sure that situation was very heavy, very combative with all the questions, and to have a moment where your brother and your sister connect with each other, and he says, I see you, you are worthy, just what she may have needed in that moment kept her going for the rest of those years.
He said that, and I was like, no, he's talking to me. I think women everywhere, everywhere, he said it to her, but it echoed across the diaspora for us, because I think we have been wanting to say, I see you, I hear you, you're worthy, you belong. Like, we need that.
Yes.
It does something right. It elevates your internal heart. Like, man, like, even though you were talking and I didn't realize you were talking to me until you said it, that did something for me inside when you said that. And I was like, oh. Because we do things and you do it so much. It's like, man, do people really,
do they really care? Yeah, absolutely. Because it could feel very alone at times. It can feel very alone, especially now it's amplified because we're coming out of a pandemic. We're getting back into in person, and so for a minute it was very touch and go, where it's just you in the house by yourself, and so you're having to interact with this. And so if you had trouble before, you were definitely going to have trouble then, because it was amplified to a point where you were literally isolated and all you had was the digital devices to connect you. But now coming out, I hope there's a lesson that we can all take from it, the power of connection and a hug and just the energy exchange, and how important that was, that we took, that we didn't really appreciate it fully. I don't want to say we didn't appreciate it, but maybe we didn't appreciate it as fully because it was just so easy to say, oh, I'll see you tomorrow, or oh yeah, I'll catch you next week. And then literally we didn't know what we had. Absolutely. So no, I agree. Community is so important, and the community that you have been creating and connecting people through conversations and doing it, like, you have longevity in this game. You are like, again, like, a lot of people start and stop. Hell, I started and stopped. Like, I had a podcast, I started and
what? I want to see convos and collabs come back. That is nice right there. I like that.
Yeah, I might read it back. I might do a little something.
Just rich back and
right, rich back. But you are inspiration to me because of the consistency and the longevity and the evolution of what you're doing. I can say I stopped. I haven't continued. I'm helping our agency podcast. I'm doing stuff there, but no, listen. I'm like, shoot, hats off to you. Like, I love it because it just shows that if I can point to anybody, I'm like, oh, you need to check out Camille. She's been doing this thing. And that expertise, that wisdom, that experience that you gain through the conversations, you're building yourself up for something great. I can't wait to see what transpires in your future.
Y'all sound my life. I'm here.
Come on now, listen. Better say it. But I'm for real. You talked about Gayle King earlier. Like, listen,
yes.
you are creating the space to do some amazing things in your future. And so I'm excited to see, where it goes.
Thank you. I'm sensitive. I'll start crying. So we're going to change the subject.
We go right.
So, we already talked about what's going on. Where can people find you on social media? Where can they connect with you?
Mm-hmm.
From a personal standpoint, professional, where can you be reached on social media?
All platforms, Derek D. Ross. You can just Google Derek D. Ross and everything will pop up. But yeah, Derek D. Ross on all platforms, IG, Facebook, Twitter, all that good stuff. DerekDRoss.com, even though I haven't updated my website in a while, but I'm not. Huh?
Are you on LinkedIn?
Yep, I'm on LinkedIn, Derek D. Ross on LinkedIn as well. So you can catch me on all those platforms. And that's kind of where I spend most of my time. Like, my website is there just for basic information. I need to update that too, because I'm not necessarily I'm not taking any like new clients or anything. I'm like at capacity, but I still want a space, a real estate to really kind of celebrate myself. So I'll probably do a revamp of that. But yeah, you can just find me across there. You might find some articles. You might find some episodes with me and Camille.
Look, I got content for days. If you need a snippet, I got to.
Listen, archives.
I think you've been on every season.
I think so.
Yeah, this is season 10. You
listen.
Yeah, you got receipts, bro.
It's dope, and that's I love that 10 anniversary. 10. What you doing for the anniversary? What you doing?
Well, Heart and Soul is in October.
Yes.
And
I've been on 2 Hearts and Souls.
You about to be on 3.
Phone in the room. Yeah. Come on in the room.
We might have to do a best of like the fan, like all the fan faves. We might have to go on do like a little Heart and Soul homecoming or something.
I love that. I love the ring of that.
Yeah. Hey.
Heart homecoming.
Oh, it got a ring going on.
And it's in the fall. Hold on. That's homecoming season. Come on, listen.
Come on, marketing.
Listen. Y'all heard it here first.
Oh my God. Yeah. Okay. Don't be surprised, y'all.
Don't be surprised. Listen, Camille takes action. Y'all, I wouldn't be surprised if I saw her grab it next week. Listen, that's another thing I love about you. You would take action. So
in that collegiate font.
Come on now.
Okay. Mine is working.
Listen, you're like, hold on. Let me wrap this up so I can take these notes and put this thing. Listen.
Merch. So yeah. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and write some things down in the coming weeks.
That's what it is. I'm excited.
That being said, I definitely want to say thank you so much for joining me here. An honor, such a gem, full of wisdom. we're young, but you have the wisdom of an old man, and that's a
Listen,
good thing. That means you're gonna have a long and prosperous life, and I wish you those things. And just your endeavors going back into corporate America. I hope they take advantage of everything that you're bringing to the table, because a lot of times organizations want to tell you why you should be here when they need to see why you are there.
mhm. I
And
agree. I think
you're going to be there for a season because there's going to be another door to open for you. And I see you I see you in a big space somewhere, maybe on the TV. So
hey. Okay, this is I'm gonna drop this for you. Before the pandemic, I was with a group and we were taping for a TV show for entrepreneurs. And then the pandemic hit. We had just did a photo shoot. We were about to shoot a pilot episode.
see,
We had
you didn't
treatment and
know it.
everything. So listen, you just never know. You never know. But I'm down for anything. I've always said that I'm open to any opportunity that presents itself.
I'm
So we'll see.
excited. I'm excited. And I'm always working on some stuff behind the
Mhm.
scenes. We'll talk about that offline. But just y'all pray for your girl. That's all I got to say. So yeah.
Always.
With that being said, you guys go out right now, grab the Chemistry Room fragrances, use the code GBN15. Lots of new merch out there. I'm dropping stuff all the time as I continue to expand and develop this line. I'm so excited about it. Tonight, the fragrance was Butter Rum. If you have not
Ooh.
used this or tried it, it's going to change your life. So go and grab that right now. If you go to my website and subscribe and use this coupon code right there, you'll save at the checkout, but you got to subscribe. You want the savings, you got to subscribe. Got to do
Hey,
it.
make that purchase.
Honey, Michael Jackson said make that change.
Okay, right.
So with that being said, it's your girl, Camille Essick. I'm host of the Speaker Podcast. This is the podcast where innovators and creators connect. Good night, guys. Be blessed. Bye-bye.